Paige Bueckers has announced that she's returning to UConn to play next year. Is this smart? What are the options? What do you think she should choose? To better understand, we need to take a look at her current injury and her previous injuries. Let's take a look. But first, if you like this content, then please like and subscribe to my channel and take a look at some of my other videos. Okay, let's get into it. Women's basketball received devastating news on the 3rd of August 2022, which was that Paige Bueckers had ruptured her anterior cruciate ligament, or what is commonly referred to as the ACL, in her left knee on the 1st of August 2022 during a pickup basketball game. Most fans know that this injury is season-ending. Bueckers has since come out and explained the injury occurred during a pickup basketball game. She described running full speed and trying to stop when her left knee just gave out. Bueckers said, "I knew it was bad. I felt a pop. I'm not really sure if I heard it, but I felt it for sure." Bueckers went on to say, "I knew something was wrong." Bueckers limped to the trainer's room for initial testing. At that point, it didn't look good, but the full extent of the injury wasn't known, but the worst was feared. That night, she underwent an MRI. Now, in the news article I read, it said that the doctor wanted to confirm the MRI results the following day, but I really don't believe that. I think that they wanted to give her some hope so she could sleep that night, which isn't a bad thing, to be quite honest. The next day, Bueckers was given the news that she had torn her ACL in her left knee, would miss the entire 2022-23 season. UConn didn't make the news public until 2 days later on the 3rd of August. Bueckers underwent surgery later that week on Friday the 5th of August. Now, the article says that she underwent successful ACL knee surgery. Just a quick note, has anybody ever gone unsuccessful ACL surgery?
Dr. Nick Riviera. Remember me?
Well, if it isn't my old friend, Mr. McGregor, with a leg for an arm and an arm for a leg.
Okay, anyway. Now, I haven't been able to find an article that says what they used for the graft. So I don't know if they used the patella tendon or hamstring or potentially a cadaver ACL. I seriously doubt that. Either way, it probably doesn't make much difference, as the recovery time, regardless of the donor site, is basically 6 to 9 months. Bueckers did some media interviews on the 1st of September and basically confirmed that how the injury happened as well. She reaffirmed that her plan was to play for UConn again, basically promising that she would return for the 2023-24 season, even though despite her being eligible, if she wanted to, she could enter the WNBA Draft in 2023, but she said, "No, I'm not leaving. That's not in question." Now, I think this is a bad decision, and I'm going to outline why and what I think might be a better option. Now, before I start getting comments about it being her body, her choice, and things like that, I agree with you. 100% her choice. It's her decision to make, and fantastic whatever she decides to do, and I wish her nothing but health in the future, whatever way or whatever she winds up doing. All right. I made a video about Napheesa Collier with the links coming back from pregnancy, suggesting it might have been a bit early and a bit of a risky move, and got a lot of comments unhappy with me regarding that. And again, I tried to outline in that video that I'm not saying this is what you, I'm not dictating what you have to do. I'm sort of outlining why it might not be the best choice to do, and trying to, instead of second guess if it goes wrong, pre-guess if you like. The famous rest in peace, John Madden used to say that. I'm going to first guess this. All right, so that's what I'm doing with this. Interestingly, some of the concerns I had for Collier are basically the same concerns I have for Paige Bueckers. First, the big concern for Bueckers is her injury history, which is a major concern. She's had 3 surgeries in the last year, 2 on her left knee. Now, Bueckers doesn't feel the 2 knee injuries are connected, saying of her knee, "It was really good. It was really good before the injury," she said when asked about how her knee felt prior to the injury. "I was ready for the season to start." No, they're unrelated, she said when specifically asked if her knee was vulnerable to another injury. Now, I agree and disagree with this. Her left knee injury against Notre Dame was different, as she hyperextended her knee and sustained a tibial plateau fracture. And as well, she did some damage to her meniscus as well. So she's right. This is a different injury, as this one is she's ruptured her ACL. So 100% right. They are different. However, her knees, and not just her left, are vulnerable due in large part to her hypermobility or her flexibility, as that puts all of her joints at more risk, as her range of motion is much greater than, let's say, somebody that had tighter joints, if you like, because she can take it to a farther range, which places her ligaments under more stress if she makes a misstep, like she did in the Notre Dame game. Remember, Bueckers also underwent surgery on her right ankle in late April 2021. This is likely related to her rolling her right ankle badly when the Huskies playing in January in a win over Tennessee. She rolled her ankle. She eventually returned to that game and hit the game-winning shot. So she played through it. So she's a tough girl. And then she sat out UConn's next game. I think the newspaper said the next game against Georgetown on the 23rd of January. Bueckers then rolled the same ankle again in February when they played Xavier. But again, she returned to the game. Head coach Gina Auriemma, he's quoted in the news article saying he didn't sound overly concerned when asked about when he was asked about it at halftime, saying, "I asked her if she'd be ready for the NCAA tournament. I can't tell you what she said, so I put her back in." All right, so ultimately the ankle injury that Buecker suffered wasn't that major. Like the surgery, it was a bit of a cleanup. It wasn't a major reconstruction. She probably had like a little divot there that they cleaned up just by arthroscopy, which is fine. But the thing is that she's likely to sustain more injuries. And Gino Ariema's comments don't really inspire confidence on how UConn will handle those in the future. I mean, he essentially asked, "Are you ready to play?" Looked her in the eye, and, "Do you want to play?" Well, what college kid's not going to say, "Yeah, put me in. I'm going to play through this." It's up to the coach and the training staff to, and a lot of times, protect the player from the player, because more than not, they're going to want to play, even if it's probably not a smart decision. And I know people are going to say I'm soft and tell me stories of Jack Youngblood playing through the Super Bowl with a broken leg. But ultimately, Bueckers is not being paid by UConn. When you play college ball, the the player and the university visions are different, long term, if you like. So they don't care about her future like she cares about her. Well, they care about her future, but for instance, if you look at this New York Times article, there's Slavanta Abarosva, I think it was. I butchered the name. I always butcher names, but anyway, she had a career-ending injury, and this was when Taurasi was a freshman, and it's just like her career's over, and Diana Taurasi's moving into the starting lineup, and there you go. And that's the case with all sports. It's next person up. But but it's that way. I mean, if you compare Buecker's injury to, let's say, the management of her buddy Chet Holmgren, who just suffered a Liz Frank foot injury, which is also a serious injury, and he's out for the year. Oklahoma is more focused on Holmgren's. They're paying him $20 million. They've got money invested in him, and they're hoping to have a cornerstone player for the next 10 years that they're going to build around. So a pro team is more invested in looking after players long term because they're hoping to get a long term return on them, versus UConn, who only, Bueckers will probably only play for UConn again for the 2023-24 season. And then after that, there'll be another high school phenom that's coming through for their 4 years, and they just recycle them. So to think that they have the same investment to make sure that they're doing all the right things, it's just not true. Now, some might say, well, Paige Bueckers is getting paid reportedly around $1 million. Her NIL deals with Gatorade and I think Bose headphones and other brands. I mean, it adds up to approximately about that, and her Instagram posts and things like that. Well, that's not payment from UConn. And she'll still get those deals regardless. It would be a bad look for Gatorade just to cancel it if she doesn't return to UConn. I don't know the fine print on the deals. But anyway, so what do I think is the best course? Well, I think, she should sit out for the next 12 months. and she can do that if she comes back to UConn. You're probably pointing out because I think their season starts October, November, so she can have a 12-month, and I think that's a better option than trying to attempt to go to the WNBA in 2023. That would be the worst decision for sure because going in halfway injured just it won't happen. But instead of returning to UConn in 2023, I think she should go overseas and play professionally. And I'm not suggesting she go to Russia. I'm definitely not suggesting that. I think the best option would be for her to go to Australia and play in the WNBL. It's a good league for young players to develop. It's an easy country. They speak English. It's pretty relaxed. It's a good vibe. A lot of WNBL players have gone over there. I think like Brittany Sykes and Cunningham and who else? I think Mabry and a few others. So it's a good, decent league, and a good way to sort of break back in because it'd be more controlled. The games wouldn't be as much if you look at the WNBL season's shorter, so they would play around 20 games. I think the last UConn 2020 21 season, I think that was like 40 games all up if you include all the way up until the NCAA final. So I think it would be a slower ramp up. And this has been tested, like going overseas and playing. Like it worked out for LaMelo Ball. I think it would be a better option versus, going to UConn in 23-24. I mean, the focus, if she goes the next season at UConn, it's sort of going to be championship or bust. Everybody knows it's going to be your last year, and the fear is you're going to play 40 games and play through injuries again, and potentially put yourself at risk. So if I was her, I would, and if I was her agent, I'd be telling her, hey, don't do it. Go to Australia, ramp up slowly, prepare for the 2024 WNBA draft. You'll still get your NIL money probably. I mean, I don't know the fine print, but I would suspect you would. Hell, you can be in Australia holding a koala. That will help your Instagram post and showing what a wonderful time you're having on Sydney beaches or wherever the hell you're going to be in Australia. But that would be my recommendation. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get, leave your comments below. I'm sure I'm going to get hell of a lot of poison from UConn fans telling me to go to hell, which is fair enough. But, think about it. If you were Buecker's agent, what would you advise her to do? What do you think is in her best interest? So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and have a great night. Good night.